discussing how we envision ourselves fighting off an attack. Really, it's something that all mothers and daughters should discuss. The same way that all fathers and sons should discuss why no one should ever be raped in the first place. It's my theory that not enough fathers and sons discuss rape. And so my mother and I have to discuss it just about every time we see each other. When I was 27, I went to visit my mom, who was still living in the apartment in Harlem I grew up in. I sat while she ran around the kitchen cooking food for me, getting a glass of tea for me, asking if there was something else she could do for me. She waits on me now because I'm a guest. My mother always makes such a huge fuss over me, and it makes me feel like an adult and a child at the same time. When I first moved out, I thought the apartment would feel like home as long as my family still lived there. Not the case. It's actually a huge disappointment to go back and feel like a visitor instead of like a daughter to my mother and a little sister to my brother. Everything feels smaller. The doorways are shorter, the toilet is closer to the ground, and I no longer know how to turn on the TV. I'm grown now. So we were in the kitchen discussing rape as usual, when my mother said, "You'd better really fight. It would be so hard on you because you're still a virgin. And that's not how you want to lose your virginity." It was a total record scratch moment. She called me a virgin, and she said it with sincerity and a touch of pity. Here I was, 27 years old, having lived on my own for 2 years, and she just knew for a fact that I was a virgin. I even had a boyfriend at the time, and she still felt confident in her belief that I was a virgin. Confident enough to bring it up as obvious in a conversation about a completely different subject. Well, she was wrong. I wasn't no virgin. I'm still not a virgin. That's right. I've gone all the way. However, I am fascinated by virginity. Losing it, keeping it, only doing hand stuff and mouth stuff because you regard your vag as a delicate little prize for your husband on your wedding night. Sacrificing your butthole to save your porcelain baby vagina from being smushed and crushed by some dude who barely knows what he's doing. Hey girl, I get it. Kind of. Wait, no. I don't really get it, but I'm not here to judge you. Everyone has his or her reasons for holding on to it. Until they don't. Frankly, that's the way it should be. Letting some dude put his stuff in you is actually pretty heavy. It's serious. But I didn't think about my virginity that way before I lost it. I didn't see it as a treasure or a precious jewel. I had felt the burden of my virginity ever since my friend, a guy, told me when I was 16 that if I was still a virgin at 21, he'd do me a favor and take it from me. He said it out of nowhere. Like, he was so sure that I was so undesirable that he'd have to go ahead and lie on the cross and take my virginity from me as an act of charity. Bless him. I couldn't think of anything sadder than being a pity fuck. That's not normal. I couldn't let it happen. I saw it as a burden that I had to get rid of so that I could be normal like my friends. A few years later, I looked around and I was the only virgin, and I basically panicked. If you think that's the story I'm about to tell you, you're wrong. There is no story. I was 20 years old. I wasn't a child bride. I wasn't being forced. But I hadn't figured it out any more than my friends had. I just thought, well, that's enough. And then boom, I wasn't a virgin anymore. And then came the regret. Not regret over losing my virginity, regret over my rush to do it. It was so important to me that it became a project for me. How would it happen? Who would it happen with? Where would it happen? Would I be a grown-up afterwards? Would I suddenly become a sexy woman with a small waist, big boobs, and a big ass? Would I be Jessica Rabbit or Beyonce? The answer was no. I didn't become any of those things, and the where, how, and who of it all left me disappointed as well. Don't worry. At least I got the dude's full age and name beforehand. He didn't have a middle name, and I thought, wow, your parents didn't love you enough to give you a middle name. What a shame. And just to make sure I'd never have to see